This might be the worst place to live in London if you're catching a flight, which is very ironic given where I am. London has 6 international airports. In order of traffic, that's Heathrow, Gatwick, Stansted, Purgatory, City and Southend. Only 2 of them are actually in London, but together they're comfortably the busiest group of any city in the world. Getting to them though can be a bit long and expensive. That's especially true here. This spot right on the edge of Hillingdon is the point in London that has the greatest average straight line distance to all the airports. We're about 11 miles from Heathrow, which isn't too bad. I mean, there's even a bus just at the end of this lane that gets you there in about 35-40 minutes. But it's 35 miles from here to Gatwick and over 50 to Southend. Few issues though, nobody actually lives here is one of those. I mean, there's a house right there, but that's in Hertfordshire. On the London side, nobody lives here, apart from the troll who lives under the bridge.
You're right.
And those distances are as the crow flies, and do you really need a plane if you're a crow? What would be better would be going by time and finding the place with the longest average journey to the airports. So, in an act so tedious it would test the patience of a Buddhist monk, I calculated the journey time from every rail station and tram stop in Greater London to each of the 6 London airports. That's 3,576 Google Maps queries, and I'm really hoping that I've not missed any. Ugh. And every query was for a standard Monday at 6 AM, because every good holiday starts with setting your alarm for an hour that you only knew existed in its PM form. Ugh. And we're just looking at public transport because, well, that's my thing. Obviously the exact results would vary at different times of day, so take this all as indicative rather than definitive. All that said, the station in London with the highest average journey time to the 6 airports is Belmont in Sutton. We're on the single-track Epsom Downs line. One stop that way is Surrey. About a mile that way are 2 prisons, and I suppose you could say if you live there, you've got a particularly long wait for a flight. Assuming you're not incarcerated, the average trip to an airport from Belmont takes 102 minutes, 7 minutes more than the next worst station, Hampton. Let's talk through some of your options from here. The easiest airport to reach from Belmont is Gatwick, because services from Belmont station are only half-hourly. The quickest route often starts with a 280 bus to Sutton, rather than taking the train one stop. From there, or, well, here, you can take a southern train to West Croydon, bus or tram it to East Croydon, then a Thameslink train to the airport. That should all take about an hour and 7 minutes, and that's the quickest option. The longest is to Southend. Start with a bus to Sutton again, Thameslink to Farringdon, Elizabeth Line to Stratford, Greater Anglia to Southend, and that all takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Few issues though, mainly it's, who the hell is using Southend Airport? Only about 1 in 600 passengers at London airports, that's who. So instead of treating all the airports equally, I weighted each journey time by that airport's passenger numbers. In other words, a long journey to Heathrow counts far more heavily than a long journey to Southend because you're vastly more likely to use Heathrow. When you rank stations by this passenger-weighted average airport journey time, London's worst station becomes Knockholt in Bromley. Except as soon as you leave the Station Drive, you're not in London anymore, you're in Kent. And nobody lives here. Knockholt Village itself is a couple of miles away. Over the border. But it does give me a clue for further investigation. See, the south of the borough of Bromley is incredibly rural, scattered with a handful of villages and hamlets. Now I know some of you are already typing, oh, this isn't London. But for the purposes of this video and, you know, my daily life, it is. It's inside the Greater London boundary, and if you're within that line, you vote for the mayor, you get a bus, and that's very handy for this video. And so I started looking at airport travel times from these outlying settlements, and I've settled upon this one as the
worst place to live in London if you're trying to catch a flight.
Welcome to Biggin Hill. This small town has a Waitrose, it's got a few shops, and it's one of the highest points in Greater London, nestled in the North Downs. It's home to the broadcast headquarters of Formula 1, randomly, and in a particularly cruel twist of fate, to London Biggin Hill Airport. Yes, that's a place that starts with London, ends with airport, but it's not included in the London Airport group for the simple reason that if you're flying from here, you didn't get here on public transport. All the flights from here are private. There are no commercial flights at all. So for any normal people living here, here's what a journey to Heathrow might look like. It's a car. Car ownership here is like 90%, but let's just ignore that, shall we? I'm starting on York Road. No, not Mike Road, York Road. It's on the southwestern fringe of Biggin Hill, so I'm starting with a 5-minute walk to East Hill bus stop where the R2 to Orpington starts. I'm sure this doesn't normally happen, but the bus has just broken down 3 minutes in, and it's half an hour till the next one. Quick aside, whilst I've got the time to spare, there are lots of London buses that have a letter prefix before their number. Most of those make sense, like K for Kingston or B for Bexley, but there aren't really any R place names around here. So what's going on? I believe the R comes from Roundabout, which was a brand name for a bunch of minibuses that ran around Orpington in the 80s. I can see why they call it Biggin Hill. The brand disappeared, but the letter remained. Right, I managed to get on the next one, so I'm just half an hour behind. There are also R buses in Richmond, but you probably wouldn't expect to end up in Orpington if you got on one. But I have done, and it took, well, an hour, but half an hour if you excuse the breakdown. So now I'm in Orpington, and I'm going to get the non-stopping fast southeastern train to London Bridge. This is the speediest bit of the journey, and I should be there in 15 minutes. Now to get to the Elizabeth line, I reckon the best way there is to take the Jubilee to Bond Street, which is another 10 minutes, and now it's over to Elizabeth for the last leg, which should take about half an hour, and here I am at Heathrow in what ended up being about 2 hours 20. Oh, I've still got lines to film back in Biggin Hill. Right, back we go. Now, if I'm honest, is this not all a bit obvious? The most inaccessible parts of London are the most distant and rural bits. I've been to the borders of Hertfordshire, of Surrey, of Kent. No wonder it takes a while to get to the airports from these places. But what if we looked a little bit closer to the centre? Oh, I've just come back out here! Inner London is a bit of a nebulous concept. There's a legal definition, there's a statistical one, and they don't agree. So I'm going to disagree with both and unilaterally say that for the purposes of this, Inner London is any station in Zone 1 or 2. So within that range, which station is the worst for getting to London's airports? It's Cutty Sark, for maritime Greenwich. But only on account of it being currently Shutty Cark, because its previous escalators were made of toothbrushes and earwax. But if we discount that, given it will one day reopen, the next most aeronautically isolated is North Dulwich, handily located just southwest of East Dulwich. Wait a minute. This is a sublime slice of sleepy Southwark suburbia. It's properly residential, closer to a velodrome than to real meaningful shops. I say closer to a velodrome than to some actual shops. That would be if you are a crow again. In reality, you have to walk past the little row of shops, which is very aspirational, let's say that. Herne Hill Velodrome here actually hosted the track cycling in the 1948 Olympics. But whilst it's a great place to get around quickly on two wheels, it's not a great place to get quickly to two wings. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of stations with worse journey times to the airports individually, but this one is just quite bad across the board. It's not too bad getting to Gatwick, mind. Which does beg the question, which station is worst for each airport individually? I'll let you guess in the comments, but I'll give you a clue. In this video I have been to one of those stations. In fact, that particular station is the worst for 3 of the 6 airports. And whilst you're at it, which station do you think is the best overall for reaching all 6 airports? The answer is in Zone 1, and because I'm on a roll here, I'll also let you know that the Pope is Catholic. I hope you've enjoyed this entirely unnecessary data deep dive. If you like this sort of travel-adjacent nonsense, there will be more soon. I think the next YouTube video, long form, that I'm going to be doing is a sort of challenge thing. And I'll keep it as vague as that. But make sure you're subscribed for that, obviously, and I will see you soon.